Hey guys, so I'm here with Mason. As you saw in the intro, we're going to be diving into his business, how he got started in this space. So make sure you like, subscribe, watch till the end. If you want to start in this space, we're going to get some great free value and knowledge from Mason here today. So Mason, I appreciate your time and I appreciate you jumping in this call with me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Happy to be here.
For sure. Awesome. So I guess we'll dive right into it. I guess if you want to sort of let the viewers know a little bit about yourself, where you're from, sort of how you got into this space, just a little quick, brief intro before I dive into some of the more personal questions and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, as Carter said there, my name's Mason. I'm based out of Calgary, Canada. We got into the like the online marketing space. Like I started probably around 5, 6 years ago, just doing different things online. I was just looking for different ways to make money. And about 3 years ago, kind of right at the start of the pandemic, we started our agency. And a couple months after that, we kind of niched down into real estate specifically. So,
Okay.
yeah, 3 years later, here we are.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you're mentioning weed. You have a business partner as well?
No. So not a business partner, but we do have a team of six
Okay.
currently. Yeah,
Awesome. That's awesome. And
yeah.
how old are you, Mason?
I'm 28 years old.
Okay. Congratulations on all the success in the 20s. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
So, a couple more so personal questions, just because I like diving into this stuff, just to see what everyone does, and everyone does things differently. But what
Mhm.
does your, I guess, entrepreneurial morning routine look like as far as what you're up to these days? Is there anything, meditation, reading, stuff like that? I guess what do you do throughout the mornings?
Oh no, so that's a great question. So yeah, like I'm an early riser, obviously. I don't have like anything specific in regards to like meditation or doing
Yeah.
like stuff like that. I usually do like to work out and have a
Mhm.
coffee before I, sit down and start my day. It just kind of helps kick things off, gets the mind and body ready to go. And but other than that, yeah, nothing incredibly crazy.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you have a team of six now. I guess what does your day look like? Like, what's your role? Are you still taking all the sales calls? In the service delivery. I guess what's your whole role within the business now, and what are you trying to do?
Yeah. So just to give you a little bit of context, so when we started our agency, we were called Cold to Closed. So we were like a completely, done for you lead generation type of service. A few months ago, we kind of decided, we were starting to get tapped out in terms of delivery. So we decided to make the transition from like a complete done for you lead generation content agency and more like a done with you,
Okay,
educational coaching type program. And
okay,
since we've made that, we pivoted there.
mm,
Like we've been growing quite substantially. So yeah, like right now in the process, right now we're in the process of kind of defining all of our processes. And
okay,
yeah, I just hired two sales reps. We're getting started with them tomorrow.
okay,
I actually hired like a creative director as well, which she's starting in a week from now as well. Because yeah, like right now we're trying to keep up with with the demand and
yeah.
open up more spots on the calendar to take more sales calls, and then we're wanting to focus on more of the product and developing our brand through video content.
Okay, awesome. So that was a recent pivot. You said was that like a couple months ago?
Yeah, about 3 months ago.
Okay, awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, that's crazy. I've heard a lot of people like kind of moving more to the consulting side of things, like almost like I don't like to say like coaching program, but like more of like you said, like done with you consulting. And before, obviously, I'm assuming you did lead generation. It was like kind of full service, just lead generation for realtors and brokers.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, awesome. Well, I guess so far to date, you've kind of take us back then before you even started your agency or real estate agency. Essentially, you've been doing this for 3 years now. So, what
Mhm.
happened before? Like, were you in school, or were you working a full time job, part time job, and then decided to go, all into this? I'm curious about the actual before starting the agency.
Yeah, no. So that's a great question. So I guess myself, I come from a civil engineering background. I used to work at a civil engineering firm, and I guess previous to that, like when I was going through school, I worked with a promotion company here in Calgary, and we did a lot of like concerts and events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the company that we worked with, we ended up doing a lot of traveling. Like we did South America, we went to Europe, Australia,
Oh,
and
that's
and
really
with
cool.
that, like I caught the travel bug, and obviously in being kind of in that engineering role, your ability to go travel and do
Yeah.
stuff like that, it's very limited in terms of what you can do, on a yearly basis, right? So probably around like 2016, 2017, I started looking at like different ways to make money online, because I was so dedicated to like finding a way to work remote
Yeah.
and travel the world essentially. And went on a couple more trips after that. And I remember in this was like February of 2020, so right before the pandemic,
Yeah.
I decided to like go in with like jump in with both feet, and I invested in a super expensive camera, and invested in a bunch of like content
Yeah.
creation courses, and videography courses, and we had a bunch of trips planned. And then, of course, 2 weeks later, the whole world shut down, right? So I remember I'm sitting there, with my camera. I just invested a lot of money in all these different courses, and I'm like, well, okay, so now what are we going to do, right? And then that's when I came across an advertisement who that from a guy named Danny Tran, who is in the agency space, and he ended up becoming my mentor, and that's how we kind of got into like the marketing agency lead generation type role. And just because of my background in working in civil engineering and in land development and in building houses and communities and stuff like that, I kind of chose to niche down into real estate because it was what I was most familiar with.
Okay, that's super smart. So you kind of niche down right away. That's what I didn't do. That I tell everyone to do is make sure you just sort of niche down right away. The generalist stuff doesn't, really work too well.
I did have a couple different clients from like
Okay.
different niches,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like we worked with like a chiropractor, with a dentist. But then what ended up happening is a buddy of mine just got his real estate license, and this was like when I was going through the still learning on how to
yeah,
market and stuff like that. And then we were just talking, and we're like, okay, yeah, let's make something happen here. And then here we are.
yeah. I think that's kind of what everyone does is generalist sort of like if you get anyone reaching out to you in the very early stages, you're not going to say no to money. So you're
Yeah,
working with just chiropractors, dentists, restaurants. You're just anyone who's reaching out or anyone you could potentially call. You're just calling. I
yeah.
think everyone kind of just goes through that phase, which makes sense. I mean, you're just trying to make money in the beginning. You're not just going to sort of hone in on one niche, but eventually niching down is the correct way to go. Now, would you say that the course and sort of mentorship actually helped you drastically? Because I know in the very early stages for myself, I regret not taking like sort of a specific course or getting a mentor because now obviously I believe that that would help so much just because you're not going to make the mistakes, like the dumb mistakes, because an individual will tell you, don't do this, do that instead. And I think you could scale and just grow a lot quicker. Like, do you regret taking the course? Or do you think it actually was very useful?
100%. And the way that my so yeah, as I mentioned, his name was Danny Tran. The way he had like a do-it-yourself course,
Yeah.
and then he kind of had like that ascension program where it was more of like a mentorship. And like to answer your question, when you're trying to learn everything yourself, like can you do it? Yes, but you want to like accelerate your timeline in which you're learning. And a lot of the times, yes, courses provide that, but you also want to have like someone in your corner that
Mm,
you can bounce like your specific questions or your challenges off of, as well as just someone to hold you accountable, right? Like entrepreneurship, it's a pretty lonely game, right? And if you don't
yeah.
have someone in your corner that's there supporting you and helping you move things forward, it can be pretty tough. Can't be done 100%, but like yeah, for me, like the mentorships that I invested in, like I saw the value in it like tenfold.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
were you always sort of entrepreneurial and business sort of mindset. You don't hear of a lot of business owners coming out with like, a degree to the level that you have. Obviously, civil engineering, that's very, difficult to get. I guess where did you go to university or?
Just here in Calgary. Yeah, I did the civil engineering technology program at SAIT.
Okay.
Yeah, so to answer your question, no, I was never really entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
When I was going through school, like I held three different jobs, and like I never was the smartest person in the room, but I think for me, like I had a work ethic like no one else, right?
Yeah.
Like went through school, maintained three jobs, and then while I was holding my engineering role after I graduated, like I was the person getting up at like 4 a.m.,
Yeah.
putting in my hours between 4 and 8. And then after work, I would work from the time I got home until the time I went to bed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like never was entrepreneurial, but it was just,
Yeah.
I was always willing to put in the time to
Yeah.
learn things, try different things yeah, and then just obviously move things forward.
So what was the flip then? Like you said, was it the traveling that you're like, oh my God, like I want to be able to do this and I just can't because I'm, tied down to going to work, obviously, or what was the flip then where you're like, okay, like I don't want to work a normal sort of job and I want to make money online?
Yeah, it was probably like in probably my early days of my engineering role.
Yeah.
Like I just gotten back from Australia, and I remember I was like I want to move to Australia. Like that's what I want to do.
Mm.
But I spent so much time getting my engineering role, and my parents and everything. When I told them about
Yeah.
my eventual plans, like they weren't so privy to the
Oh,
idea, right? They're traditional parents, and they hold traditional jobs. And do I fault them for it? Absolutely not. But after having done a bunch of traveling and just seeing like all the opportunities that are out there and like
yeah.
what you can do online and work that remote lifestyle, I really, that's when I kind of made the decision. And yeah, like after that, obviously the pandemic happened and it made things a
Yeah.
little bit challenging, but um, yeah, I think it was a good thing as well, because throughout the course of the pandemic, obviously everyone was kind of stuck at home and doing their own things. And I truly think that if I didn't have like all that additional time just being stuck at home, I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have spent all the time to learn everything that I did and get the
Sure.
business to where it is today.
Yeah. Okay, so what was kind of like you started in February 2020 basically, and then how long did it take you to actually see some success and sign your like very first client? Because I vividly remember, like I don't remember the exact sort of date, but I remember like how long roughly it took to get the first client. What was it like for you, like getting your first client?
Yeah, it was definitely exciting. And I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks, and it was
Okay.
the chiropractor that I worked with, right? And yeah, I was going through the couple different programs I was a part of, and yeah, like just by fluke, it was literally the first demo that booked on the calendar, my
Yeah.
first sales call ever, like,
Really?
and I them, yeah. So then you kind of have that attitude. You're like, oh, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm a
Yeah.
big deal here, right? But
Yeah.
then after that,
It was, yeah.
no, it was a bit more challenging as we kind of continued to move things along, and that's why we kind of niched down
Yeah.
um, to real estate. And I guess some of the challenges I was facing, obviously, is I was still like maintaining my full-time position while doing all of this.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where some of the limitations were, is I could only move things forward. I can only coach. I had a team of two at the time,
Yeah.
and only take so many sales calls at the time. So
Yeah.
I ended up finding that for the longest time I was just kind of spinning my wheels, just trying to get things up and running. But
Yeah. Because you're still working full time, obviously.
yeah, exactly.
So what was that moment then like? How long was it where did you hit a certain amount per month, or did you just figure I'm just done, I'm just gonna do this full time and put like, jump in head first, or was there an actual point in time that you remember where you hit a certain amount and you're like, hey, I can start to pursue this full time, it's taken over my full time income, or what was the moment where you like decided to actually do it full time?
Yeah. So it got to a point where I ended up missing out on more sales calls
Yeah.
because I didn't have, like, I could only take them in the evenings or on the
Yeah.
weekends, right? So and when I got to the point where we, like, the marketing was working, there were appointments getting booked on the calendar. And it got to a point where it was literally hurting me more to be at the job than to pursue the business full
Yeah.
time. So I made the decision. Like, I was kind of tearing over it over last summer, but
Yeah.
I left the role in the beginning of October of last year.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Congrats on that.
Thank
And what has there been like a pivotal month or a very memorable month or quarter or something that kind of changed everything, or like something a month where you hit like 10K a month and you're like, oh my God, like I can't believe, this is happening. Like, is there like a 1 month or something that really sticks out to you as far as like pivotal in the business where you figured something out, or an offer or something along those lines?
Yeah, 100%. So when we made the pivot from like the done for you agency to more of like the
Yeah.
consultation, we're a mix of like done for you, done with you. But
Yeah.
when we made that pivot, like, things just popped off. Like, it was
Yeah.
our biggest month in terms of signing clients.
Yeah.
And yeah, that, like, to answer your question, yeah, that was the moment.
Okay. Awesome.
Mhm.
And what's been your sort of biggest challenge, or I guess biggest failure that you faced so far within the last 3 years, as far as something where you're like, hey, I don't even know if I can do this anymore, or, something along those lines that you had to overcome, sort of like something the biggest, and what did you learn from that experience, sort of?
100%. So yeah, like, I think it was not last year, but the year before. I think it was around like October, November. We were kind of going through the churn and burn of clients that a
Yeah.
lot of real estate marketing agencies go through, right?
Yeah.
And I remember, like, I had like four sales calls booked on a it was all on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
And it was at that point, like, I was down to I think my last client, and I had one guy, one realtor that I had been nurturing for like 6 months.
Yeah.
So all four of those sales calls, like, ended up canceling that day. So I was like so defeated,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, this isn't, like, maybe this isn't for me. You start getting all those negative thoughts
Yeah.
in your head. And then I asked my mentor, I'm like, hey man, I have this one prospect. He's gone unresponsive. Like, how do I continue the thing, like, to continue the conversation
Yeah.
forward, sign him on as a client? And he's like, send them this. I sent him that, and it, like, remember, I'm having all these negative thoughts in my head, and I'm like, he's gonna cancel on me. And then
Yeah.
I think at like 9 o'clock at night, he was like, hey, invoice is cleared, let's go. And then at that point, I was like, okay, maybe we can do this. And then at
Yeah.
that point, it kind of, we kind of clicked
Motivated you.
this, and
Yeah.
then that moment kind of kicked things back off into a positive trajectory.
Yeah. Yeah. Entrepreneurship's just mentally draining with the amount of highs and the amount of lows. Like, it just changes so drastically day by day and week by week, as far as signing a client, and then all of a sudden they just don't sign or they cancel, and you're just on an ultimate high going into the weekend. Then Monday they ghost you or something like that. That's just happened
Yeah,
way too many times. Like, I've just learned to try and not take the highs too high and the lows too lows, because there's just way too many of them.
exactly. And not celebrating when, like, the
Yeah.
contract isn't finalized. I've made that mistake too
Oh
many.
yeah, I've made that mistake way too many times before. And it's hard not to, because you're still like internally excited, but I just don't show it like outside until like everything's done and finalized, because way too many times people will just like literally basically almost sign it and then they'll be done.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you kind of walk me through, I guess, just out of curiosity, to know like what's sort of the offer right now to the realtors and brokers with the consulting, and like if I was a realtor, what would the offer sort of be now?
Yeah, for sure. So we're doing a 12-month program,
Okay.
where we essentially help all of our clients set up all of their marketing, set up their video content,
Mhm.
and leverage all of the social media platforms. So we have a whole course area. We have our weekly coaching calls to support them.
Yeah.
And after I kind of work my way out of the sales seat,
Hmm.
our focus is going to be more on, developing more course material on, like, the sales, the
Yeah.
conversions, and partnering with other top producers and teams to add more coaches to our program. Because I always say this, like I have like a more experience in marketing now, but I'm not a real estate agent
Yeah,
yet,
yeah,
right? I don't know the process of turning an actual like lead into a client and then actually
yeah,
closing that buyer or seller deal, right? So having that like another coach or two in the program, for us, I think it's going to be essential, especially as we start to grow with more agents here.
for sure, for sure. And
Mhm.
I know it's like what you said as far as the churn and burn for the real estate niche. I don't know if that's for all niches and for all agencies in general, but that's definitely something that I struggled with in the early stages. Would you say that was one of, or like, what has been one of your biggest sort of problems within the business, and how did you sort of overcome that? Like something that was, either holding you back, whether it was booking appointments or closing deals and sales calls, service delivery, something along those lines. What was kind of a big problem within the business, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think like early on, and like correct me if I'm wrong if the same thing happened to you. Like, we could learn the basics of like lead generation, but
Yeah,
we think that that's the only problem that we have to solve, right? But the I guess the challenge with real estate is the realtors are dealing with such a high purchase point, right? So the sales
yeah,
process is a lot longer, which means that the amount of leads that you have to generate to get that transaction is a lot more, and the amount of work that it takes to convert that lead is a lot more, right?
yeah,
So once I started to realize that, and we started to solve all the other problems that came after the fact, that's when we started to retain our clients more, right? Because
yeah,
you can send all of your clients
yeah,
hundreds of leads, you can send them thousands of leads, right? But if they don't have the brand,
yeah.
if they don't if they don't have the sales skills, right,
Mhm.
they're never going to convert on them, right?
Yeah,
So the approach that we started to take after we started to learn a lot of these problems, was to help provide all of the realtors the ammunition that they need to actually take the leads that we were sending them and then turn them into business.
for sure. No, yeah, that makes sense. That's definitely something that I faced early on as well. You quickly realize that it's not just running a campaign and getting someone to fill out a lead form and that's it.
Yeah,
There's a lot more that has to go into it than just passing them off the name, their number, and their email,
yeah,
which half the time is wrong anyways because it's just scraped from Facebook. So
yeah,
you quickly realize that there's a lot more that goes into the service delivery, especially for the real estate niche. I think the real estate niche honestly has got to be one of the harder sort of service delivery. I mean, I haven't been in any other niches. I know e-commerce is probably difficult, but I feel like we're just dealing with people's quite literally the biggest investment they'll ever make in their entire life, and we're trying to get them in through like a Facebook ad. So there's a lot that goes into it. We're not trying to just sell a $50 hoodie and got to sell 100 of them to get the client a positive ROAS. So I think it's
yeah,
difficult in that sense.
yeah, exactly.
What's one of the most important lessons you've learned over the last 3 years, I guess, of starting your business and being an entrepreneur? What's one of the biggest things you've learned from it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I think the first thing is to surround yourself with other people that are like minded, and
Mhm.
people that are a step ahead of you, right? Because kind of like we were discussing earlier, there, like entrepreneurship is a really it's a lonely game, right? And
Yeah,
in surrounding yourself in a community of people that are there to support you, that are there to help share success. It helps you move things. It helps you succeed a lot quicker, right?
yeah,
And the Alex Hormozy had a good quote on like on giving up or on failure, and
yeah,
he said it's something along the lines of like, yeah, you don't fail unless you give up, right? And
yeah,
if you don't start seeing wins relatively quickly, whatever your timeline is, right, that's what ends up leading people to giving up, right?
yeah,
So I found if you have a solid mentor that's a couple steps ahead of you, and you
mhm,
have a support system, whether it be people that are in the same spot as you,
yeah,
or a similar spot as you, and you're all growing together. That's where the fun happens, and that's where
Yeah,
I find you end up getting or being more successful.
for sure. So I guess your one piece of advice then would be to sort of like surround yourself with like-minded individuals, network, and sort of get like that mentor, get someone that's, a rung above on the ladder to sort of guide you and teach you in a sense.
100%. Yeah.
That's cool. So, kind of some off the wall questions here, but I'm just curious about this stuff.
Mhm.
If you weren't in this space, as far as like a business owner, what other sort of dream occupation do you think you'd rather do, like a lawyer, doctor, something like along those lines?
So are we talking like a professional profession or more like in the entrepreneurial
Well,
space?
it could be like another business that you think would be cool to own, or it can be like a profession, like yeah, like a lawyer, doctor. You want to own like a gym, whatever, basically.
Yeah, honestly, man, I really love like creating content,
Yeah.
shooting videos. Like
Mhm.
when I was young, I was always the guy with the video camera in my hand. So it would probably be something along those lines. Like I mentioned, like before I got into the agency space, like I wanted to be like a travel vlogger and
Yeah,
creating like travel videos. So it probably would be something around like video production or
yeah,
content production.
like a travel YouTuber or something.
Exactly, yeah.
That's cool. And do you want to live in Calgary for the rest of your life, or is there anywhere else that you want to kind of? Do you want to live somewhere else, or do you want to like sort of stay in Calgary?
No, so that's a great question. So actually, my girlfriend and I right now are in the process of looking at other cities. We're looking at Vancouver. We're looking at
That'd
Toronto. We've discussed potentially moving to Bali for a year.
be cool.
So we're just kind of working through some of the logistics on her end.
Yeah.
She's still in the corporate world. So
Okay. Nice. Yeah. It's kind of.
yeah, yeah. So we're kind of working on that. But yeah, no, we could be moving to Vancouver in as soon as a couple months or
Oh, that'd
Toronto.
be super cool.
Yeah.
If you could have, I guess, coffee. I always like this question with any historical figure or anyone that's currently alive or passed away. Who would it be, and sort of why would it be that individual? If you have someone that you would like to sit down and have coffee with.
Oh man, that's a great question.
It's hard to think of, but you just got to think of all the people that you like, I guess.
Yeah, I'm a big music guy, like a big hip hop guy. So I'd probably say like Eminem.
That'd be
Like
cool. That'd be cool.
yeah, I'm big fan of his, and for him he started like right at the uh right at the bottom, kind of in the streets of Detroit, and now he's
Yeah,
quite arguably
the best.
one of the most
Yeah,
renowned hip hop artists out there, right? So just kind of understanding how he developed his mindset from getting from
or
that
nothing.
to to one of the most recognized names in music. I think that would be really cool to learn about.
That's cool. Do you like to travel a lot? Like, do you do a lot of traveling?
I do, yeah. So before, I would say before the pandemic, we definitely did a lot more. We actually just got back from Vancouver last weekend, where we're going
Okay.
to Toronto next week, and
Okay,
we
nice.
have a couple of trips planned over the course of the year as well. So
Okay, that's
yeah,
awesome. What's
we're kind of. Oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry, yeah, go. You can go for it.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, like we definitely starting to get back more
Yeah.
into to hopping on planes and checking new places out.
That's awesome. That's probably one of my like favorite things to do is just experiences because I feel like that's just so much more fun than any sort of like watch or materialistic thing you can buy. Like the experiences of going somewhere different and like
Mhm.
going to even just a new dinner spot or a new pub and stuff like that is just so much fun meeting new people and stuff like that. I love that the most.
100%. No, I'm there with you there.
Yeah. What's one of the best trips you've ever been on? Like what's one of the most memorable places, or even if it was just like Toronto, a great weekend or something, what's one of the most memorable times as far as traveling?
Oh man, that's a great question. I have a couple. So in 2019, like in the summer of 2019, we spent some time in Europe.
Okay,
I
nice.
checked out Germany. Was in like the Netherlands and Amsterdam, and checked out Belgium as well. We went to
Awesome.
Tomorrowland, which was
That's
really
awesome.
fun. yeah. And then I really, really liked Australia. I definitely
Yes.
want to get back there because yeah, like as I said, in 2019 there when I got back, like I was like so dead set on moving back over there,
Yeah.
but no, Australia is an awesome spot.
Was it okay? Like, are you scared of spiders though? Is there not like actually a ridiculous amount of spiders? Like, that's the only reason why I don't think I'm ever going there is because I am like terrified. Like, is there actually that many? Like, do you see them actively every day?
No, I wouldn't say every day, but I got a funny story. So we just got back from a trip on Fraser Island, and essentially what Fraser Island is, you rent a bunch of 4x4s and just tour around the island. You
Yeah.
do that for like 4 days and you camp. So I got back in this little town. I can't remember what it was called, but the Airbnb place that I rented at, they
Yeah.
give you like these little individual guest houses, and then they have like the main house in the like at the front there. And I remember I was
Oh, fuck.
walking from my house to the main house.
Yeah.
And like there's these two like little like brushes. And as I was walking down the pathway, a snake
Oh,
lashed out at my leg, and I was like, "Oh crap!" And I ran into the house, and I told the girl that owned the place, and I was like, "Yeah, there's a snake out there that just lashed out at me." And she went and looked at it in the most Australian accent like I've ever heard. She's like, "Oh, that's a red belly black. That's the most poisonous snake in this region." And I
so
was
you
like,
would
"Oh,
have. So if you
yeah,
by that, you would have been in for one.
I would have been, yeah." And I was like, "Holy crap!" And I was like, "Okay, now I know what they mean about like Australia and everything's out
Yeah.
there trying to kill you." Yeah, that
Like that's
was
literally the only thing that would hold me from going there is like I literally hate spiders. It's probably like my most not even like I don't even yeah, it's most feared. Even though like here like where I'm from, like spiders are irrelevant. They probably can, even make a mark on my arm, but like there
yeah,
it's just like that I just hate them so much. So that's something that's keeping me from going there. But no,
yeah.
that's funny. That would not been a good rest of the trip in Australia, I'm sure if you got bit by that.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to ask you like how are things going along with your agency right now? Like I see your content popping up all over the place. So
Mm.
I guess yeah, like how are things going with your business and what are some of the things that you've learned?
Yeah, so things are going good. I've kind of been doing it almost for the same amount of years, like 2.5 years, basically 3 years. And yeah, things are good right now. It's sort of like, I guess, pivoting in a sense as like the offer and whatnot. We're doing it more so like long term. I've realized just from collecting like statistics of all the clients that the individuals that have the mindset of this is a long term game, which I kind of try and stress in the sales call, like this is not a get rich quick scheme. You're not gonna, advertise for a month and all of a sudden get 20 people knocking on your door to buy multi-million-dollar homes. That's not how this works whatsoever.
Yeah,
So I think it's stressing the long term play and just overall continuing to build better systems, innovate the service delivery, make it better and better, better sales scripts, different offers for the realtors, stuff like that. I think that's the number one important thing with any niche is
mm,
just learning about the problems that your target market for us realtors are having today, and just sort of continuing to innovate your service delivery, make it better and better, have better ISAs, continue to train, continue to develop. I think that's the number one thing that I've just been focusing on over the last 3-4 months is just continuing to develop and make the service delivery better and better, because the only way to scale to the next level, which I'm sure you probably know, is having a great client retention.
yeah,
I think that's the hardest part, especially in the real estate space. But if you do figure it out, it's good to quickly get a return on investment for your clients, which is great because all they really need is one deal over a 6 month period or two deals, and they've 10x what it is they've spent on your service. So that's great. But yeah, everything's been going good. It's a slow growth curve, and just figuring it out day by day, I guess.
yeah, no, 100%. And if there's any advice I could give you, Carter,
Yeah.
like I said, when we made the transition from our offer, so we used to do like it was usually between like 4 and 6 month contracts on just
Mhm.
like an agency retainer.
Yeah.
Now what we've done, and I spent some time like developing course material, obviously on like the development
Mhm.
of like Facebook ads, like how to run, how to optimize, hiring and training and ISA conversions,
Yeah.
all that stuff. But the way that we like the pivot that we've done is we do it more on like a 12-month program now, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you've learned the the biggest challenge in the real estate space is how long it takes for us to get a win for the
Yeah.
client. Okay? So and it's just because of the sales cycle. So
Yeah.
we found that like our we upfront, the way
Mhm.
that our offer looks, it looks less than what we were charging before.
Yeah.
And our timeline to help our clients get results is a lot longer.
Yeah.
So it gives us more time to work with the clients, because when we were doing it on the done for you basis, and our upfront cost was a lot more, because again we had the management, we had the
Yeah.
ISA salaries we had to pay for, right?
Yeah.
And upfront it looks like a lot of money to the realtor. So now what we've done is we kind of taken a step back. You know, we it's an investment for the full 12 months. A
Yeah.
lot of the delivery happens in that first 2 to 3 months,
Yeah.
and then you just give them the option to receive support from you and your team
Mhm.
for that 12-month period.
Yeah.
Um, and in doing that, right, it gives you that much time to make sure that you help get your clients results in that 12-month time frame.
Yeah.
But you have experience with online lead gen. Yeah, it sounds like you have your ISA training in place as
Mhm.
well. There's no reason why you wouldn't be able to help them get them those results in that first
Yeah.
couple of months. But then since they're with you for that 12-month period, you can still keep in touch with
Yeah.
them, still keep helping them. And the amount of work that's required on your end, it's very minimal.
Yeah, I think that's true. Honestly, I just like recently made the pivot as far as I noticed everyone has a problem sort of with. I mean, it all depends like on the offer and what you're doing. Like coaching, consulting might be different, but
Mhm.
for like monthly retainers, that was always the biggest problem for me. Is people just hated the fact that they were psychologically locked into like a monthly payment for 3 months, or
Yeah.
my contract was 3 months and it was a monthly retainer essentially. So what I've sort of done is I increased the contract length to 6 months, which I kind of wish I even did, 12 months, which obviously I still can do, but I'll kind of
Mhm.
just see how this works out. Because I realized that anyone who stayed past like a 3 month, 4 month period tend to always, gotten results. As far
Yeah.
as you just have a big enough pipeline where eventually an individual is going to say, okay, yeah, they're ready to now buy or ready to list, whatever it may be. So what we've kind of done is just have like a startup fee. And that's kind of how we pitch it. It's the exact same basically as if I had the monthly retainer, because I just took the retainer and said it's now just a one-time startup fee. And that's
Mhm.
worked really, really well, just because I don't know, maybe psychologically people think that they're not locked into a monthly payment, and it just makes more sense in their head. So that's what I've kind of started doing. It's worked well as far as like the closing percentage and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's should definitely look into sort of doing more of like the consulting coaching, because I think that's I've heard a lot of people switch into that, and I think that's what's gonna be to sort of take it to the next step and the next level.
Yeah, and the one thing that I've noticed, when you approach it from that sense, and you have really solid marketing, and you have good training in place,
Mhm.
the and I guess this is for your knowledge as well. When you're doing done for you services,
Yeah.
right? Especially like in your early stages, when you don't have much of a brand, and you're still trying to make a name for yourself in the space.
Yeah.
um, the client is always going to try, like they're going to keep you accountable, right?
Yeah.
You're always going to obviously want to deliver for them. You want to be like you want to be very communicative, and you want to get them results, right?
Yeah.
But as you start to scale up, you become a firefighter essentially, right?
Yeah.
There's always things breaking, there's
Yeah.
automations, there's different, yeah, there's always fires to put out, right?
Yeah.
But when you start doing like the consultative approach, you still have the opportunity to do like the done for you services. And even with our clients now, we do what's called like the implementation calls, where we we have all of our course material that walks them through all of the processes of everything we do. But I still sit on a one-on-one call with each of our clients, and I walk them through and build everything out in front of them, so
Yeah.
they know how to do it. And I found that when you're approaching it from that I guess standpoint,
Mhm.
the the clients have been a lot more like receptive. I'm the
Yeah.
one keeping them accountable, right? So it flips things flips the scripts
Yeah.
on things, and it makes things a lot easier. And the clients are a lot more receptive, and
Mhm.
most importantly, the profit margins have been a lot higher as well. So
Yeah,
uh,
no, for sure. That definitely makes
so
sense.
so yeah, like if that's something that you'd be looking at doing into like in the future,
Mhm.
those are just some things to consider.
Yeah, no, 100%. I've definitely, looked into it because you notice that like, every problem you said is very, very accurate as far as like becoming a firefighter and whatnot. And I could just see how it could, escalate even that much more if I were to keep, signing more clients. It's just going to be like full time, constantly putting out fires like, oh, automation's not working or this happened here. It's just that'll be my job to just answer texts and sort of go on the back end and fix everything. So I could see
Hmm.
how that could become a problem very, very quick because then scaling would just be quite literally impossible. I'd never be able to, actually work on the business.
Hmm.
So the consulting and coaching thing is definitely very, very intriguing. And it would just be kind of like a sit back for a couple months to develop everything in the systems and the packages for that. But
Yep.
no, I appreciate that. That's awesome. I guess, yeah, where can people sort of, well, before that, what is your sort of vision now for the business, some goals for the end of this year as far as either hitting a certain number, getting to a certain, revenue per month or revenue by the end of the year, or what's the overall vision just as far as growth in general?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So, as I mentioned, we have two sales reps starting tomorrow. Our goal is to get to 50K a month for this quarter, or
Yeah.
yeah, I guess for quarter two.
Yeah.
And for me to kind of exit out of the sales seat, right? Because right now, the problem that we're having obviously is I'm tapped out on
Yeah.
time because I'm the only one chatting with clients and
Yeah.
bringing them on into the program. So once I kind of have our sales rep kind of fill that role,
Yeah.
I'm going all in on making our product better,
Yeah.
in adding more to the course material, helping our clients more on a one-on-one facet, and just bringing more coaches that are specialized in specific areas.
Mhm.
So that's the main thing I want to focus on in quarter two. And then yeah, we brought on a creative director as well, who's really going to be driving forward a lot of our content in helping us develop video content, helping us be more visible on all the socials. So that's kind of our plan for the next quarter, and then for the end of the year, we do want to scale up to 100 grand a month.
That's awesome. No, that's really good. Yeah, I guess where can people find you? Where can they find the business? Instagram, any handles, stuff like that. If people want to, reach out if they have any questions.
Yeah, for sure. So so at Mason Stepaniak on every platform. Our company is called the Agent Initiative. And we essentially help realtors and teams with the growth of their businesses, everything relating marketing, sales, and building out their teams. And yeah, we're going to be going pretty heavy on content here on this upcoming quarter. So yeah, it'll be lots of fun stuff and lots of value to provide people.
That's awesome, Nation. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't subscribed, click the button down below, like the video, comment, other, guests that you want to see on the podcast. Make sure you follow Mason and check out all of his content. He's providing a lot of good free value, and I'm sure there's going to be more to come, like you said. So I appreciate you watching, and I appreciate your time, Mason. Thanks again.
Thanks, Carter.